show you mercy. Tonight, Gammon joins the hunt.
Greetings fellow hunters, in this video we are going to look at the Burial Blade, the last weapon you get in the game. Obviously there is going to be spoilers ahead, so stop watching now if you haven't finished the game. You can purchase the Burial Blade after killing Gehrman, the first hunter. You will find it in the merchant shop. Gehrman has become one of my favorite characters that FromSoft has bestowed upon us. Such a worthy scythe to a worthy man. His lore and his story are grandiose in every aspect. Here we have a guy who was living in his own false utopia, made the same as his old workshop he lived in. The doll, which seems he had a relationship with in the real world, maybe his wife, maybe his daughter, was also brought back in his false utopia. The true final boss, the Moon Presence, has adopted him as a child for eternity to watch over other hunters. At the end of the night, he offers hunters to leave the nightmare. What truly touched me and ached my heart is after I discovered that when he said nightmare, he truly meant it. Doing the same job every day for eternity is a curse, yet Gehrman chooses to free the hunters knowing full well he is going to suffer for eternity. He selflessly saves other hunters and wants to see them free despite the consequences. What an honorable guy Gehrman is. This is the type of guy I want to deal with. He fights us because he doesn't want us to suffer the same fate as he did, but at the same time hopes someone can end his misery. The boss fight, the epic music that truly reflects the emotions of the fight, the peace and serenity of the area, the amazing flowers, makes this fight one of the best I have ever seen in my life. Such an epic fight. Props to FromSoft for pushing the limit with this one. At least that's my interpretation of Gehrman's story. I really wanted to add this backstory on this weapon because in my opinion, it makes it much more special for me. For a moment, I forgot about me reviewing the Burial Blade, but that's how much I love Gehrman. But without further ado, let's start with the actual weapon. The Burial Blade requires 10 in strength and 12 in skill in order to wield or use, and has a scaling of D in strength and B in skill, and also has a B scaling in arcane. In this weapon, the actual arcane scaling does actually give you damage, but ever so slightly. Me having 32 arcane only grants me 25 arcane, which is nothing guys, nothing. People always wonder when they get this weapon, how am I going to put my stats in order to maximize its potential? Some people say I will go full arcane, some people will go I'll go with skill and arcane. However, I tried this weapon in almost every way, and I will clarify on that later on. But the best way to use this weapon is just to have pure skill. That's the most you can get out of the weapon. The strength and the arcane scaling are just negligible, they are not needed in order to optimize this weapon. And this weapon in general, in PvP and in PvE, is amazing. And it's almost, for me, one of the most balanced weapons in the game. However, it has one thing that that makes it not perfect, you know. If it has that one thing, it makes it maybe the best weapon in the game. I will talk about that more later on. But this weapon generally performs extremely well in PvE or against enemies in the game. Really well. It stuns perfectly. It has a lot of comboing, a lot of attacks, varied moveset, amazing actually moveset. So good, man, when you're playing with this weapon. You feel like, wow, I can't describe it. It's just amazing. And as I said, before I start like looking more at PvP, in PvE it is top notch. It will serve you best. Gehrman didn't wield this scythe for nothing. So let's look more on the PvP side of this weapon and analyze it more. So let's start talking about the blood gems, which I usually start by the end of the video, but it's very important. In case you don't know, there's 3 versions of every weapon. There's a standard version, the lost version, and the uncanny version. As always, the uncanny version is my favorite because it has 2 radials and 1 triangle. However, I went to great lengths to try this weapon in different ways. For example, I got one of the best gems in the game, and it required me to beat literally the hardest bosses in Chalice dungeons in order to get these gems. And these gems are attack up 21%. And what they do is increase all types of attack by the same standard, 21%. So what I wanted to do is increase both arcane and physical. I also tried to add flat arcane damage with 8% physical, like 70 arcane, and it still did not perform well. The best way I found is you play it with physical damage. Like I put all 3 gems, all damage 21, and the scaling from the arcane is just very bad, very bad. It's just negligible, doesn't make any difference. Actually, you can take a look at it right here, right now. As you can see, it doesn't give you that much of a damage boost. So going for the physical damage attacks and going straight for skill is the best way in my opinion, because I tried it that way that I showed. But still, don't forget that you still can have a second weapon with an elemental damage, which is also always a plus. And by the way, this weapon you can get it, you don't have to finish the game to get it, because usually people kill Gerham and then get the blade, the burial blade. However, you can quit the game from the PSN. You can quit and you actually go in front of the boss door and you can go buy it from the merchant. So you can do this trick in order to get this weapon early, or get the uncanny version like I did from Chalice dungeons way before you go to the final boss. The burial blade has a lot of oddities that makes it stand out from other weapons, and that is that its damage modifier for dashing, rolling and quick stepping attacks are higher than the average. They're usually between 1.15 and 1.20. On the other hand, other weapons usually have it less than 1. So using this weapon, using the dash attacks, quick step attacks, all of these attacks are just better. You get more damage out of them, and they also cost less stamina. And it's between 22 and 28 to be exact, every attack. That's the quick step plus the attack. So that's amazing and very, very odd thing for a weapon. A good and clear example of this is that the dashing R2 is so powerful that it actually outdamages the normal R2. That's not the case for other weapons. So please keep that in mind while using this weapon. Now, as you've seen in the intro, the charge R2 on this weapon, on its transform mode, so when using as a scythe, is definitely one of the best charged attacks in the game. It's extremely fast, does heavy ass damage, and has one thing that also stands out, really stands out, is the range. The range on it is insane, and it's one of the few weapons, if not the only weapon that I have ever seen that FromSoft did that actually has a phantom range, intentional phantom range. And what do I mean by phantom range? Is that the attack hitbox actually extends more than the weapon, especially on that charged attack. And I was deceived many times while I started playing the game. When I was playing against people who were using the scythe, I was always surprised from that charge attack, because in my perspective, it was far away. How the fuck did that hit me? That's how I asked myself, until I tried this weapon. So the charge attack are amazing. And one thing that's going for this weapon that you can actually use, like because it's negligible for using it for other weapons, is maybe using the charged gems, the strike gems, which increase your strike damage considerably, like in the 30s%. It's extremely well in PvE, can also be extremely good in PvP. I still have to test that out more, but I'm sure it will serve you well, and it's one of the weapons that you should consider using a striking gem. My only wish was to use this scythe in the Hunter's Dream.
Good hunter, you've done well. The night is near its end. Now, I will show you mercy. You will be freed from this terrible hunter's dream. Accept your death. Be freed from the night.
So back to the scythe. The scythe, as I said, using the gems that increase its charge attacks can be amazing. But this weapon still has another thing up its sleeve. It has the best rally potential in the game. And what do you ask is rally potential? Now I'm not sure 100%, I don't want to give a clear statement, but it's either one of these two. It's either that your attacks give you much more damage back, or much more, HP back, you know, for the regain system, or it stays for longer. Or maybe the third option, it's both. So you have, in general, when you're using this weapon, you will realize that you're getting much more damage or HP back after you get hit. And it actually feels like it stays also for longer, so you have more opportunity to get back that HP. So this is a very big advantage. So until now, you're hearing me, you think, what? PvPSkillz? Like, this weapon is overpowered. That's how you're describing it. But there's one thing about this weapon that's why I said it's the most balanced, that is just different from other weapons. It has one of the lowest damages in the game, in my opinion. Me using the best gems here in the video, you can still feel that the weapon is normal, which usually other weapons, when you put gems on them, they usually go overpower mode. Like really, they become like 3-shotters. This weapon doesn't do like that. And I don't know if the other weapons need balancing and they have to lower their damage, or this weapon needs to, get a buff for its damage. But I think it's perfect the way it is, and I think the other weapons should have less damage. That's my opinion though. But that's how I feel. But the damage is not a game breaker. No, because as I said, the combos, the moveset are amazing. So you can't have it both ways. But still, as I said, the damage maybe is the weakest after maybe the rapier. I'm not sure, but it is one of the it's maybe until now the weakest weapon in terms of damage that I've tried. But as I said, you can't have everything, and I love that they did that. But I wish if other weapons didn't have like the whole package. But in terms of moveset, this one takes the cake for me. This one is just amazing and so much fun, which is for me is the #1 priority when I'm using a weapon. Before I forget, the charge attack, by the way, cost 100 stamina. So you have to be conservative when using that charge attack, because 100 stamina is a lot. And another thing for this weapon is let me talk about the standard R1s usually, because that's what people usually use the most. The first attack on the transform mode is not that great. However, the follow-up attacks are amazing. And it has one thing that you can actually, like resolve that problem. And how do you do that? Is press R2 then R1. When you do that, the R1 that actually comes out is the follow-up attack and isn't the first attack. And actually you can do that after roll attacks, dashing attack, and quick step attacks. So yeah, that is amazing. So I don't know, they never had this before, I think, in Dark Souls. So you can, surpass that first bad hit, which I don't like, and go for the second hit with, the follow-up attacks after any attack. And as I said, all quick step attacks and dashing attacks are just better in this, because it has higher multiplier damage, and it's also very fast, and it gives you that follow-up attacks that we want. And it actually goes around you perfectly, these R1s. Like, people have a hard time going around you if they're trying to, counter attack you from close proximity. From both modes, definitely the transform mode is my favorite. Although you have to use the one-handed mode, because sometimes you just have to get that parry, But in general, this weapon does need mastering, and I hope you try it out and tell me what you think about it. And it's definitely one of my favorites, especially the lore behind it. Man, I love the lore in this game, much more so than Dark Souls 2. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Consider liking and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I have a lot of videos coming in your way, and I'll see you on my next video. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. See you on my next video. Bye bye.